No DQ Galaxy. We are live with the NoDQ.com live recap of Friday Night Smackdown for February the 25th, 2022. We have WrestleMania 38, the most stupendous WrestleMania coming up. The biggest match in WrestleMania history, Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. This SmackDown featured a contract signing. We'll get to that in just a few moments. Shout out to everybody watching this, whether it's live or on demand. If you enjoy this video, if you like it, please give it a thumbs up on YouTube, youtube.com/AaronRiftNoDQ, and please consider subscribing if you haven't already, and leave your comments in the chat room on YouTube. I will be posting them up on the screen during this recap. We had footage shown from the past couple of months leading up to Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar, champion versus champion. And then we had Michael Cole in the ring. He introduced Ronda Rousey, the #1 contender for the SmackDown Women's title. DJW sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Says, lackluster SmackDown tonight, except for the main event. We will get to the main event in just a little bit. But first, we had Ronda Rousey talking with Michael Cole. She brought up how she broke both of her hands. Then she got pregnant during her time away from WWE, but knew she wanted to be back for the Royal Rumble. She brought up her mom's accomplishments as a single mother and wanted to set the same example with her daughter, and vowed to tap out Charlotte at WrestleMania. And this led to Charlotte showing up, of course. I think that Ronda was on the right track with her passion, and they had Michael Cole out there to try and carry the interview so Ronda would not be doing too much talking, but still was a bit rough in my opinion. We had Charlotte come down to the ring and said that Ronda will actually be the one to tap out at WrestleMania. Charlotte said Ronda will then go home and work on baby number 2. At this point, Sonya Deville attacked Ronda from behind. Ronda fought her off. And then backstage, Adam Pearce made a match. After watching the footage and talking with Ronda, it will be Sonya Deville one-on-one with Ronda Rousey. And it looks like Sonya's feud with Naomi is over. No WrestleMania match. We'll get to more on Naomi here in just a few moments, so stay tuned. There is a direction for Naomi. We'll get to that. We had our first match of the evening, which was the New Day, Kofi Kingston and Big E, versus the Los Lotharios tag team for the third time in a month. This is the rubber match because they each won one. The Lotharios did the little kiss camera segment. New Day came to the ring driving an ATV. And good match here from these teams. Pretty standard stuff. Big E got knocked off the apron. Lotharios worked over Kofi for a while. Big E got a hot tag. Kofi tagged back in. They were on the verge of winning, but then Humberto broke up the pin. And for the finish, Angel Garza was on the outside, laid out. Or not Angel Garza, Humberto was laid out. And Big E was going to run him down with the ATV. And Angel, who was in the ring, got distracted. And that led to New Day picking up the win with the midnight hour. Big E pinned Angel Garza. And one would think that this is the end of the feud, but knowing WWE, we could see these guys wrestle another 3 times before 2022 is over. We had Rick Boogs and Shinsuke Nakamura in a Toyota Tundra commercial. Not much to say about that, just them driving around Northern California, and they were going kayaking and that sort of thing. We had Sam Roberts, who I guess is now a backstage interviewer for WWE. He was interviewing the Usos, and they said that they smell the Vikings from a mile away. And they apparently did not smell the Vikings well enough, because the Vikings attacked them and said that they want their match. They did not get their match at Elimination Chamber due to the sneak attack by the Usos. And I believe it's going to be on next week's show. Usos versus the Viking Raiders. We had Ziya Lee cutting a promo prior to her match with Natalya. And she said that she's nervous, but she's confident. She worked hard at NXT. She's waited her whole life for this opportunity. And she had this match going up against Natalya. You had several people that are not being used in any kind of storylines watching the match. They were back there. People like, what's his name? Mansoor, a couple others. Natalya worked over Ziya Lee. Crowd did not seem to care much about this match. They were chanting Hershey chocolate. Now, I was told that Natalya cut a promo on Hershey before the match, and maybe that's why they were chanting it. But yeah, to the average person watching on TV, they tune in and they're like, well, the crowd's chanting Hershey chocolate instead of for the participants in the match. You had Pat McAfee trying to say it was a Ziya Lee chant, but yeah, Pat, we could tell it was Hershey chocolate. Sorry, man. You tried, though. You really do earn your paycheck. I will give him that. So Natalya went for the sharpshooter, but Ziya Lee broke out of it, and then Ziya Lee got the victory with the spinning heel kick. You know, she picks up the win, her first match on SmackDown. If she's still doing well 6 months from now, then we're on to something with her. But I hate to tell you, but I do not have much confidence that WWE will push her for any lengthy amount of time. Look what happened with Tegan Nox. Look what happened with Toni Storm. Look what's happening with Shotzi. And we'll get to Shotzi here in a few moments. And Big G's here. And yeah, Big G did confirm that Natalya cut a promo before the match. And that's why they were chanting Hershey chocolate. We had Sami Zayn's IC title celebration. He won the Intercontinental title from Shinsuke Nakamura last week. And he gloated, said that justice has finally been served. He can overcome whatever is thrown at him. He said, unlike Nakamura, he will be happy to defend against all comers. And that's when Johnny Knoxville arrived. Yes, Johnny Knoxville is still feuding with Sami Zayn. The movie's already out. Like, why? Zayn wanted to know what the deal was. Knoxville said since Sami Zayn crashed the Jackass premiere, Knoxville was going to crash Sami Zayn's celebration. And Knoxville said he wants an opportunity at the title. Zayn basically said no and then started to leave, but then he took a cheap shot. He attacked Knoxville and then hit a haluva kick, which did not connect. He missed pretty much. And Knoxville sold it anyways. And then Zayn ended up hitting a second haluva kick to Knoxville. Now, I'm okay with Logan Paul being in a match, but I have little to no interest in seeing Sami Zayn versus Johnny Knoxville. Like they did the angle at the Rumble. That's that. I have no desire to see this whatsoever. And guess what? Next week, Ricochet, he went backstage and he challenged Zayn to a match, and the match was made by Adam Pearce for next week. Ricochet is going to be the fall guy to set up Sami Zayn versus Johnny Knoxville. Instead of Ricochet getting the match at WrestleMania, he's going to be putting over Sami Zayn, and then we're going to get Knoxville versus Zayn at WrestleMania. Where's Psycho Jet Black right now? Because, I mean, this is just great material for him. This whole Ricochet being set up for Johnny Knoxville challenging Sami Zayn at WrestleMania. And DJW sent in another $2 super chat. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. It says, I agree, Aaron. It'll be a cinematic jackass match. They might as well do a cinematic match at this point, because I really do not care about them actually doing a match in the ring. Like, I'm just not interested. Sure, it can be a throwaway match, but why even bother? Remember when we used to have like quality matches for the IC title? Once upon a time, we had Randy Savage versus Ricky Steamboat. We had Mr. Perfect versus Bret Hart. We had Shawn Michaels versus Razor Ramon. We had The Rock versus Triple H. And now we get Sami Zayn versus Johnny Knoxville. Couldn't even do Sami Zayn versus Cesaro. Oh, well, whatever. Then we had, speaking of whatever, we had Sasha Banks versus Shotzi. Shotzi had no entrance. In other words, the jobber entrance. Naomi showed up before the match to be on commentary, and she was having some technical issues. Shotzi got in like a little bit of offense, but it was basically a squash match. Sasha hit the Meteora, hit the Banks statement to pick up the win. I feel bad for Shotzi. Like, she is totally an afterthought at this point, and April 15th, she might want to keep her phone off that day, just saying. It really sucks because they could be doing so much more with her. And afterwards, Naomi got into the ring and proclaimed that her and Sasha Banks are going to be the new women's tag team champions. I guess that's a challenge for WrestleMania against Carmella and Zelina Vega. Like I said, it looks like the feud between Naomi and Sonya is finally over, mercifully. And they're moving on here. Tag team match for WrestleMania. Okay, fine. Let's get some more tag teams. If you're even going to bother with a women's tag division, you got to get some more teams in the mix. So, all right, cool, whatever. Jay Hunter sent in a $2 super chat. Says, who do you think the last credible IC champion was? Well, The Miz was doing pretty good for a while as champion. I thought Miz was respectable 4 or 5 years ago. He was having a pretty good run. Dolph Ziggler was doing pretty good with it. There were a couple guys in recent years that held the title with some level of prestige, but I mean, it's been a really long time since the IC title was like up there with the world title as far as people caring about it. I mean, for that, you might even have to go back to the early 2000s, like when Chris Jericho and Chris Benoit were feuding for the title. We had Drew McIntyre versus what was supposed to be Happy Corbin. But here's the thing. At first, WWE announced that it was going to be Drew McIntyre versus Madcap Moss, even though McIntyre already beat him twice at Day 1 and Elimination Chamber. But then it got changed to McIntyre versus Corbin. I guess somebody figured, you know what? Just doing this match a third time between McIntyre and Moss made no sense. So there's got to be some kind of reason to do that match. they announced McIntyre versus Corbin, and then Corbin said that him versus McIntyre is a WrestleMania caliber match and suggested that since Hershey doesn't deserve it, Madcap Moss should take the match instead. So that's the storyline reason for doing this match a third time. Madcap attempted a cheap shot, and then Corbin came in. They both attacked McIntyre, and then the match was started. Madcap was selling his neck from that reverse Alabama slam, and McIntyre even tried to hit him with the reverse Alabama slam, but Madcap got to the ropes. The match continued. Corbin got on the apron. Moss hit a thumb to the eye and hit a DDT, but McIntyre kicked out of that. And then basically out of nowhere, McIntyre hit the Claymore and picked up the 1-2-3 victory. And I guess now we'll finally get McIntyre versus Corbin at WrestleMania. Yippee. Then we had our final segment of the evening. We had the contract signing. We had a ton of security out there. Paul Heyman cut a promo, said that this is the biggest WrestleMania match of all time, bigger than Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant, which the crowd booed. Now, I know Paul Heyman's a heel, but heels lie. They are supposed to lie. So when he says that, it sounds like he's lying, that this isn't the biggest WrestleMania match of all time. When somebody makes a claim like that, it has to be somebody who the fans see as credible, and Paul Heyman is this heel that's anything but credible. So they booed that line, and then Heyman said it was bigger than Rock versus Austin, which the crowd also booed, obviously. And then it was said that this will, in fact, be a champion versus champion unification match. Looks like they are going to unify the titles. No more Universal title after this. Paul Heyman talked about there being a cliffhanger, and then we went to a commercial break, which was interesting. When we came back from commercial, we had a little ad saying that on next week's Pat McAfee show, the special guest will be Vince McMahon. Yes, Vince McMahon is going to be on the Pat McAfee show. That will be interesting. I am legitimately intrigued by that one. Brock Lesnar showed up. He called Roman Reigns Mr. Acknowledgement, and he called Paul Heyman Mr. Dick. And as you guys know, when it's a contract signing segment, that's a letter grade down for me. But Paul Heyman being called Mr. Dick, I think redeemed it. Like, I want to give the show a letter grade up just for the Mr. Dick line. Brock Lesnar did his intro as champion and said security ain't going to stop him from kicking their asses, but he said he's going to wait until WrestleMania and get paid for kicking their asses. And Heyman said it's not going to be a unification match at WrestleMania because Brock Lesnar will be losing the WWE title at Madison Square Garden on March 5th. Now, my thought on this, why not wait until after March 5th to do the contract signing? You're doing a contract for a unification match, which might not happen. Okay. But anyways, Roman Reigns got on the mic and started spitting fire here. Roman Reigns was talking about how everything there is his. The people are his because they acknowledge him. The announcers are his. They talk about him. WrestleMania is his. Everyone out there works for him, including the security. And sure enough, the security all surrounded Brock, and he proceeded to destroy each and every one of them. He threw the chair at one of the guys and then took the table and threw the table at a bunch of them and then hit one of the guys with an F5, suplex city to another guy, just total destruction. And this was an entertaining segment for a contract signing segment. I thought it was pretty entertaining. Brock Lesnar was great. He was, in my opinion, the saving grace of this, although Roman Reigns did well as well. DJW sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. It says, man, I love Roman's energy on the mic. That's the most fired up on the mic I've seen him in a long time. Roman clearly does not fear Brock. I like it. Yeah, I enjoyed it too. Is this the greatest WrestleMania match of all time? That's a tough one to live up to. It's one of the bigger ones, title for title. I mean, that's a big deal. And I like both characters. So going in, it's got a lot of momentum. I would not say it's the biggest WrestleMania match of all time, but WWE marketing is at work here, and they are trying to nail it in our head that this is the biggest match of all time. They're calling it the biggest match at the biggest WrestleMania of all time. Stupendous. They're using all the buzzwords, and you know that's what WWE does. They are a marketing machine, and every WrestleMania is the biggest extravaganza of all time. So, main event segment, as mentioned earlier in the chat, I thought was the best thing on the show. The rest of it, nothing special. I would say this show is a somewhat recommend. I mostly recommend the final segment. Everything else you could probably skip. Letter grade wise, probably give it a C+, barely above average because of the final segment. Final segment really carried the show. Everything else was just, in my opinion, very run-of-the-mill. So that's my take on SmackDown this week. And stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest. I will definitely keep you guys updated with all the happenings. And stay tuned for upcoming live streams on the channel, youtube.com/AaronRift.NoDQ. Please subscribe. We're very close to 60,000 subscribers. Hopefully we can hit it soon. Keep spreading the word. Tell a friend. And next week we'll be doing the predictions for AEW Revolution. That will be a fun live stream. 7 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday night will be the predictions. And we got more great content coming up. So stay tuned. Take care, everybody. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. And remember, say yes to NoDQ.com. I'll see you guys next time.